Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I'm Paul Richard, your host today, and we have a special guest. Mike Cecilia is with us from Grand Travel Worldwide. Mike, it's good to have you with us.
It's good to be with you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And once again, you're using my laptop, so it says my name under your side, but we know that you're Mike Cecilia. And give us a little bit of background about how you got into this business, and even before that, what was some of your other previous experience? I heard it for the first time in a lot of ways yesterday in a meeting that we were in. So give us a little background about Mike.
Sure. Everything started pretty much my professional career started with a company called Beneficial. And then I was a manager there and went through a merger between Beneficial and then Household, then a merger between Household and HSBC. Left there for a little bit and then was recruited to go back to run a call center in Carmel, Indiana. And so at that point in time, I ran several teams within the call center as a sales manager. At that point in time, I had lost a couple family members. We moved back from Indiana back to St. Louis, and I accepted a position as a sales manager for Heartland Bank and became a regional manager for them or a district manager. I ran three different branches for them at the same time. And then I moved and took my dream position as a sales director at what used to be Boeing Credit Union, which is now Ultra Credit Union. And so I was a sales director there and was in task of designing sales training, um, uh, direction on how to get people paid through production. And at that point in time, about 90 days in, I contacted a disease called GBS, Guillain-Barré Syndrome, and almost took my life and was not able to go back to work. And that was May of 2012. And so at that point in time, I had such a passion for people and training and enjoying watching them love their lives and so Paul, I tried several different things to keep me happy and a long story short, I ended up coming back to travel. I had done travel for like 20 years. We have a large Italian family, so we would travel 20 together at a time, and at one point in time I finally decided, hey, let's do travel. That was about 3 years ago, and it has been doing nothing but growing since. Sure. I initially was one that was travel agent said, hey, I really want to focus on uh my clients. And what I didn't realize until I became to beginning of this year is like, the best thing I could do for my clients is actually experience the product so I can speak from it firsthand. Obviously, I can't go on every single cruise, but I have been on six cruises since the beginning of this year. We started with Carnival, and then I was on a Norwegian cruise. I was on two different cruise ships with Margaritaville, and then we also went on Virgin Voyages. So we got to sample all those. And one thing I did find out, Paul, was you had so much better and I always kind of joke around to see it, taste it, eat it, feel it, and really experience it because it's very important in my eyes as a travel agent is to make sure that we put the client the best position to enjoy themselves. And by doing that, I'm able to do that by experiencing actually what happened on those cruise ships, what you actually see and feel during those cruise ships. And that helped big time in the last, it was really time consuming, but it was something that made me be able to realize, hey, what cruise ships are actually best for my clients? Because each client's different. So each one has a different taste of travel, And this helps me out understand, maybe which ones are better for them. Well, I actually do everything that has to do with travel. I actually just got done. A client of mine just came back from a Kenya safari trip out of Africa, and that was an unbelievable trip for them. It was one of those dream trips for them. I've done Amtrak trips. I've done really before this year, before our September purchase of the Cruise Planners franchise, I was probably about 75% all inclusive international resorts. So I've sent people to Costa Rica, Jamaica, um, Cancun, Dominican Republic, Thailand, so all over the world. And a lot of them are really, to be honest with you, Paul, of sometimes first trips I've ever even scheduled for clients. And so what we are huge on at Grand Travel Worldwide is education. So if something pops up like the Kenya Safari travel, I actually do the research. I contact our vendors that have been vetted, and I'm actually able to learn and decipher and ask the right questions to the clients and make sure that again we put them in the right fit so they enjoy their vacation. So it's funny, Paul, that you said that. I do not charge any. Typically, 99% of my travel is 0% cost to the clients. I'll do everything from the initial onboarding of the client, asking all the questions, showing them several different ideas of resorts or cruise ships or whatever their passion is, and then deciding and finally figuring out what is the best fit for them by them telling me, hey, this is the best fit. And then I follow them throughout the process. They take off, go on their trip, and then 2 weeks later, I typically follow up with them and ask, hey, what were the good, bads, and the uglies? That way I know, hey, how can Grand Travel Worldwide, how can Michael Cecilia become better? And also know about the actual resort firsthand from my clients. And that also helps me understand when I schedule the next trip what the clients liked, what they didn't like, and that way I'm able to be able to fit them even better fit on the next trip.
So generally, if somebody is interested in a cruise, do they a lot of times bring you a particular cruise that they saw online or they saw an ad for something, or do they come to you generally and say, "Hey, Mike, I really would like to take a trip around Italy, on a cruise ship." What's more common one in those scenarios?
Paul, I have everything. I have people that have never cruised before, and they're like, "Hey, I want to cruise." Um, and then I have people that come to me all teed up, is what I call is like, I know I want to go on Carnival Glory. I want to stay in this room, and I want this, and that as far as excursions. So they've had it laid out. So I get it all over, but I would say majority of them have either educated themselves by research or they dreadedly hear the rumors about certain ships, and the first thing they say is, I don't want to go on this ship because I hear that this, and this happens. So a lot of times it's educating the client on the actual cruise ships, finding out, first of all, they're traveling with the families, it's just husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and then go from there and making sure, again, we diagnose what type of vacation they want, and then we fit them into the best cruise ship in that situation for them.
Very good. Can you go through the different cruise lines and talk to us about how they differ as far as the type of cruiser, the type of experiences, and the level of I don't know, customer service slash quality. What can you kind of go over the different ones so that people know what they might select that would fit their lifestyle and preferences?
Sure. I would say, I mean, obviously there's two separate type of cruising, river cruising and ocean cruising. The river cruisings are smaller ships to where they can get into some of the areas, obviously, that the ocean cruise cannot get into, which means there's less people on the ship. Everything's typically cooked by the chef, so it's not a buffet style eating, and all that equates to typically a larger price tag, but it's more of an intimate cruise. The ships sometimes have, two, three, 400 people on the ship. But when you look at the ocean cruises, you have cruise ships that go all the way up to, 10,000 people on a cruise ship. I would say the more budget friendly cruise ships would be Carnival and Margaritaville. A lot of the thought out there is Margaritaville and Carnival are all they are drunkards running around the cruise ship. I can tell you that they're drinking on every cruise ship. I would say firsthand from me, best service and best food on the cruises that I have done so far. Um, I would say that Virgin Voyages probably has the best food and the best service. Now I'm getting ready to go on apprenticeship in February, and I've sold a ton of those cruises on the Princess to all different places in the country, and one of them most particular is the Alaska cruise. Now that's supposed to be very friendly as far as staff. Food is supposed to be really good. Margaritaville's got really good music. Follows the Jimmy Buffett. So there's music in all areas of the ship on that. Carnival's similar. I would tell you that most cruise ships have really decent entertainment, but the biggest error that most people make on their first cruises is trying to see all the shows. What I would recommend is see the shows you technically want to see and then enjoy yourself rather than trying to run from one show to the other. Paul, we did that on the Margaritaville a little bit
We
and
sure
wore.
did.
But I would say those are some of the differences of the ships. But when someone's saying they don't want to go on a cruise ship where people don't drink, um, I would say majority of all the cruise ships have drinking involved. It's just a matter of where you want to be on the ship. If you stay away from the bars, etc., then you should be fine.
That's awesome. And we did go together on the Margaritaville Paradise, I believe it was
Yes.
now, and enjoyed that tremendously. Now, as far as all inclusives, can you talk a little bit about, probably the biggest advertised one is sandals. What options are there in the all inclusives that you see and that you've experienced? Have you, if you have experienced some of those?
So I used to be all inclusive. So I've stayed in Hard Rock in Cancun. I visited Hard Rock in Punta Cana. I stayed in many Rio properties. Um, Most of the differences are the size of the resort. Um, I would tell you that I would probably not go to the Hard Rock in Punta Cana. I don't know, it's like 800 rooms. And if you don't pay to upgrade and get closer to where all what I call it, the shopping mall front of uh, the all-inclusive resort, then you're going to have to take a golf cart back and forth to your room, which they happen to rent for you if you want to do that. They do have shuttles, but those you have to kind of wait on their own. But food is most of them have different, um, Italian food, obviously Mexican food. Then they normally have the American buffet style for those that have the sensitive stomach and not really too interested in the cuisines. And then they have the specialties. The Taiwan, they have. Japanese and steakhouses and all those type of things. It depends on your price tag. I've got clients that will do nothing but stay in a swim out. That's usually about a $1,200 to $1,500 price upgrade. Or I have clients that they don't care as long as it has a bed in it, the room's comfortable. There's a sun, pool, and a beach and decent food, and they're okay.
That's cool. I know my wife has mentioned Bora Bora several times. Have you booked anybody to Bora Bora?
No, I tell you, I would say the most outlandish trip that I have booked was a client of mine that went to Thailand and took a swing. It was like a one of the swings we have here in Branson, but instead of it being a zip line, it was more like you sit on the bench and you swing over the forest. Just
Cool.
unbelievable. I sent her to a place where they had elephants. She got into water with elephants, tigers, and lions, and she enjoyed that. I sent someone to the giraffe hotel safari where the giraffes are right there in your hotel. Would stick out on your porch. They'd be roaming around the resort. So yeah, there's a lot of crazy things out there, Paul, and a lot of them I haven't done yet, but I'm excited to learn and actually set again with the clients. And it goes back, Paul, and I keep saying this, but it's really getting to know what your client is and what they want. It's so much easier when you send them on 3 to 6 to 7 trips that you find obviously 1,400 to 1,600 resorts in Cancun minimum, and then eventually you'll get down to where you send them 2 or 3, and those 2 or 3 are the ones that they like, and then it's difficult to pick one of those 3. And I'm there with several clients, and that's fun. It's enjoyable.
That's cool. Now, how has the travel industry changed? Obviously, once things like Expedia came out and those type of things, the role of the travel agent really, really changed. And also, not only the role, I guess, but the industry changed tremendously. Can you speak to that a little bit and what we see today as I would call it a hybrid model of travel agent?
Yeah, so the travel agency world is no different than a lot of other worlds in the fact that you need to stay connected, educating yourself on a consistent basis. If you don't, and you want to keep up with the Joneses, if that's what your business model is, you're not going to keep up because it's constantly changing. For example, the airlines, they don't, I say, airlines are really tough to deal with because it seems like they don't, and I know they do, but it seems like they don't care about the clients, they don't care about the travel agents, and all that stuff. But obviously, that's a tough field for them navigating through the gas pricing. But that's kind of what's going on right now is trying to temper and make sure that the clients realize that me as a travel agent, we do not dictate pricing. I don't go in and up the price of a trip just because I want to make more money. I price it as low as I can price it, and that way I can continue to keep my clients happy. But the pricing of everything is going up with everything else. So, yeah, I mean, I had a deal probably 4 years ago, where I was going to be able to go 2 of us for the 8 nights to Cancun and a Ryu property for 600 apiece. Now
Hmm.
it's double that, probably $1,200 a piece. And that's just a fact. So my first question is, where are you looking to go and what's your budget? And I try to tell everybody, I'm not asking what your budget is so I can spend it all. I want to spend your money like it's my own money. But I also want to be realistic. If someone wants to go to Hawaii for 7 days and they want to spend $1,500 for a couple, right then and there, I already explained to them that, hey, that's not going to fit in the budget. So it's knowing the market, trying to keep the best that you can on the market and what the pricing's doing. That is helps through the communications of your clients a whole lot better.
Very good. I love that. And one of the other questions came to mind as you were talking about that is what is the best way to contact you to start the process? I mean, should they go to your website first and kind of look around, or do you like them to call you first and kind of explain what they would like? What's the best way to start the process?
Well, get all different of them. We do have a pretty decent website that allows you to do research and kind of get an idea of what's out there, pricing maybe. You can't book through there, but what you would do is if you see a special price on a cruise or an all-inclusive, one of our specials, you click on it, give us your name, number, typically email. Then we get an email right away, and I typically try to contact you less than 24 hours. The other thing is obviously is picking up the phone and call me. You can reach me at 417-901-3861, or you can always reach me on my email if you have any questions, or we can start talking about a trip. You can reach me at Michael, Michael, period, S as in Sam, I-C as in cat, I-L-I-A, at cruiseplanners with an S.com. And then I'll reach out to you. Or you can text me at that number as well. I'm available. I'm usually, Paul, you were on a cruise ship with me. You could tell I answer the phones even on the cruise ship. So I
You
get
do.
as
Yeah,
much as I can.
there's no time, day or night that you're not available to answer the phone for that. That's so awesome. A couple of unique things that I've heard you talk about, and I'd love to hear more about. You've booked some train travel for some people, and tell us a little bit about that. A lot of people don't think about doing a train trip.
So I just recently got certified with two luxury train cruises. Both of them have short trips and or long trips that go through Colorado. They have the picturesque windows that go from about waist level all the way up above you. So you have almost an exact, you could see anything all around you on the cruise. And those go through the beautiful landscape and picturesque views in Colorado. And also we have some that go through Alaska on those luxury cruises or luxury train trips. And then I've done several train trips through Amtrak. Again, it's not as luxury because Amtrak is obviously on metal tracks, and it is a little bit rougher of a ride, but you still are able to not have to worry about driving. And you get to go through. I had two clients that went to Grand Canyon, and they have several others. It wasn't just Grand Canyon, but out of Kansas City and out of St. Louis, they jumped through and in through these train trips. They'll stop in a town. You stay in a hotel for an evening. Not all meals are included, but some meals are included. And then you get to enjoy those towns for a time. And then at the end of the track is Grand Canyon, and then you return back to either Kansas City or in St. Louis in those two trips. But they have them all over. It's really cool, Paul. One of my dreams is to get on one of those luxury trains and just enjoy the picturesque views through the glass windows.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, all right. Let's talk about cruise tips for planning a cruise. What are some traveler tips that you might give that would be helpful to know before they get on the boat? Let's just say that.
Well, I would say that, if we're talking about we've already booked the cruise and all that, is that correct, Paul? So
Yes.
how do you get prepared? Um,
Yes.
I would recommend you do research on that cruise ship. You can see the floor plans. I can send you the floor plans, but there's so many different integral shows and all that stuff that's involved in it. Just to Google that ship. If you know what room you are, by then you'll know what cabin you have. You can go into YouTube, and there's a lot of YouTube videos that show a lot of the cabins on a particular cruise ship. So those you could look at. The other thing is I just had to handle is if you've got any medical conditions or any food allergies, that needs to be told to us as travel agents so we can prepare the ship. My grandson has a special deal that he needs help with, and we're going on Carnival in August, and he is on the spectrum. So they're going to have a bag that has earphones, fidget tools, and then he's going to allow us to walk through the line instead of having to wait in line and listen to all the loud. So they were prepared, that person, for that situation. If you have issues with food allergies, sometimes the cruise ships, it's best to know before because celebrity cruise ships are really good on Affigal, Helen Affigal. Some of the other things, obviously, is making sure you have a small little medical bag, maybe motion sickness stuff, patches for behind your ear, um, maybe some pills you take for allergies, anything to do with stomach. If you get upset stomach, it's easy. Have those for you on your own. That way, you don't have to pay for them on the ship because it's like anything else. If you're going to the ball game and you have to buy a soda, that soda is going to be about 30 times more than what you'd normally cost. So, speaking of soda, you are able to bring a 12 pack of aluminum cans of soda as long as it's sealed and not open. If you open it and try to put different types of cans, they will take that from you. You're able to bring one bottle of wine as well, but they will probably charge you a cork fee. So, what are some of the other things? Maybe you don't need to bring your towels, but make sure you travel with the right size of sunscreen, those smaller sizes, so you can put those on the plane. You don't have any problems losing that. But I would say those are the most, and make sure that you know what kind of weather is going to happen there, depending on what kind of cruise. If you're going to Alaska, you need to make sure that you bring plenty of clothes and a waterproof jacket. There's no doubt it's always going to rain at some point in time, so you want to make sure you can layer because it'll be cold one point and then warm another point, so you can take your layers off. A lot of stuff like that. I do try to send. I've got different things that I send to people depending on what they ask. If they're people that have cruised forever and they're like, hey, I know what I'm doing. You don't need to follow up with me. I understand that. I still do follow up with them on some of those stuff, but I don't know if that helps. I think any questions that my guests have, I always end my emails and my voicemails. Any other questions, Pete, feel free to call me. There's no stupid question unless you don't ask that question.
That's great. So, what are some no-nos for cruises that people should be aware of?
Extension cords, hair dryers. Uh, you have to watch any of the electronic stuff. And then you have to also find out, depending on what areas you're cruising to, because there's certain areas that you can't wear camouflage. So don't wear camouflage going off the ship because they'll send you back on the ship. Um, no, you have to watch in some of the areas. I believe it's Mexico now. If you're vaping, you got a vape. You can actually get fined up to $12,000 and put in jail, depending on your behavior. So you really
Ooh.
have to watch all that stuff. Yes.
Yeah, I would say you really need to read the fine print on what's going on with the cruise line, right? Because
Yes.
I think I asked you before we left on our cruise a month ago that could I bring an extension cord, and I think it just restricted surge protected
Right.
cords is what I thought I saw because we ended up using that because there was one outlet in the entire room, right? So you had to break it out somehow to do that. So I guess the thing is read the fine print before you go. Certainly you don't want to get to the embarkation point and find out something's missing or something's wrong, right?
Yes.
And I think I've told you a story that I had that happen, unfortunately, with my son one time. The baggage from Southwest didn't make it, and he had left his passport in his checked
Luggage.
baggage.
Yeah.
So that's one I learned from brutal experiences. Keep your passport on you, okay? As part of that. And another thing I think I learned recently is that if your passport is due to expire within the next 6 months of your cruise launch or
Finish date. Yes.
finish date, do not wait to get it renewed. Renew it now, right?
Yeah, because they won't let you on the cruise line if your passport is expiring less than 6 months from the return date of your cruise.
Yeah, and I had an experience, I think I shared it with you, that it happened to be Norwegian. My wife and I booked a cruise leaving from Miami, going down to Belize and Panama, and both of our passports had expired. So we were actually, this is before I met you. We actually called directly to the cruise line, and the guy said, "Oh, you don't need a passport for this particular cruise." And we said, "Oh, okay, great. That's super." Well, then I forget if it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was. They sent out the forms to get set up for embarkation. I was filling that out, and it wouldn't let me go through past where you had to put a passport number in. And I go, "That's odd." The guy from the cruise line said I didn't have to do this. So I called him up. Actually, I talked to him again at the planning department, and I said, "You told us that this was not needed." And he goes, "Oh no." He said, "Panama will not let you even board in Miami without a passport, even if you decide you're not going to go off the ship there." So yeah, definitely don't play any games with it, because the insurance doesn't necessarily cover you for some of those things where you made the mistake, right? And that
Right.
type of thing. So you have to be super, super careful. And you were so wise to talk about the medical kit, because, going to the medical area is not a free endeavor on a cruise ship. It's not, in fact, it is very, very expensive to go there and get some treatments done. So be aware of that. If you have some things that could happen or whatever, try to bring with you what you can as far as that goes. And will they allow you to bring prescription drugs on, and how does that part work?
Yeah, so I just handle it. A guest of mine is uses insulin on a daily basis. So I always call because sometimes things change. So I called and spoke to the department in charge of that. And at this point, and it's a Carnival, the August cruise, um, she had a couple options. One is they, just so you know, the quote fridge in your cabin, particularly in Carnival, all the other ships I'm pretty sure are the same as well, but they are not refrigerators, they're coolers. So they keep things between 50 and 54, 55 degrees. So when you pull a soda out, it's going to be lukewarm, it's not be cold. So that's not good for someone that has to refrigerate the insulin. So the option is when you get on the ship, they only have limited amount of coolers. Medic coolers is what they call it, where you can store your insulin or any other medication that needs to be in a cooler. There's a $75 deposit, but you go straight to customer service. If they have any available and you want it, they will check it out to you. They will charge you a $75 refundable deposit. When you return it at the end of the ship cruise, you get that $75 taken off. Or you can bring a 12 by 12, as large as a 12 by 12 cooler, and have your attendant fill it with ice on a daily basis. The third option is the medic center will store that for you. Now they have certain hours depending on if it's port days, sea days, embarkation days, disembarkation days. So they have a certain amount of hours that you can go in and grab that to take your insulin. So those are several options to do. So basically what I asked when you were even before as far as tips. I would keep everything depending on how you are. If you're a solely electronic person like you are, Paul, keep it electronic on your phone or your laptop, tablet, any of your documents, your boarding passes, all that stuff, medication, prescriptions, all that stuff. Your medication, if you have prescriptions, I brought them on right in a separate medical bag, and they're in the actual bottle that has a prescription on it. So if they've ever looked, they never have. I've been on 10 cruises and I've been on air flights, a million air flights. No one's ever asked. It does go through through the ID thing. No one's ever had me open it and ask what they are, but I always carry them with the prescription bottle, the original prescription bottle. Sometimes it's a pain, but it makes it a whole lot easier. But there's a couple more tips for you.
That's excellent. That's awesome. Well, and then your website, do they just go to
Yeah,
grandtravelworldwide.com or where is it
it's
located?
it's www grand GRANDE travel TRAVEL worldwide.com. That will pull it up. It's got all the information you need on that. And if you have any other questions, obviously just feel free to reach out and holler at me.
That sounds good, Michael. Well, thank you for being on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure having you, sir, and many happy travels as people book with you, right?
Thanks. Hey, I appreciate it, Paul. And again, don't forget Grand Travel Worldwide, where we build dream vacations and memories that last a lifetime.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Paul. Have a blessed